Imagine waking up tomorrow to a world that no longer exists. No cities, no governments, no future. A world consumed by nuclear fire. Now imagine that humanity came closer to that nightmare than most people realize. September 26, 1983. The Cold War was at one of its most dangerous moments. The United States and the Soviet Union possessed enough nuclear weapons to destroy civilization many times over. Then, deep inside a secret Soviet military bunker, warning sirens suddenly erupted. Red lights flashed across the command center. Computer screens displayed a terrifying message: nuclear missile launch detected. According to the Soviet Union's most advanced early warning system, the United States had just launched a nuclear attack. The countdown to World War III had begun. Military officers prepared for the unthinkable. A report would soon reach Soviet leaders, and within minutes, a retaliatory strike could trigger a nuclear war unlike any the world had ever seen. Yet, in the middle of that chaos, one man looked at the screen and refused to believe it. His decision lasted only a few moments, but those moments may have saved billions of lives. This is the incredible true story of Stanislav Petrov, the man who may have stopped World War III. But to understand why his decision was so important, we first need to understand how close the world already was to disaster. The year was 1983. For decades, the world had been divided between two superpowers. On one side stood the United States, on the other stood the Soviet Union. Both nations possessed enormous nuclear arsenals, capable of destroying the planet many times over. The Cold War had created a fragile balance known as mutual assured destruction. The logic was terrifying. If one side launched nuclear weapons, the other side would launch theirs. Both countries would be devastated. Neither side would truly win. Peace existed not because nations trusted one another, but because everyone feared the consequences of war. And by 1983, tensions were rising rapidly. Just weeks earlier, Soviet fighter jets had shot down a civilian passenger aircraft, killing 269 people. The incident shocked the world. Relations between Moscow and Washington deteriorated even further. Meanwhile, American President Ronald Reagan was openly criticizing the Soviet Union and dramatically increasing military spending. Inside the Kremlin, many Soviet leaders believed America might be preparing for a surprise attack. Suspicion grew, fear grew, paranoia grew, and in such an atmosphere, even a small mistake could become a global catastrophe. And the center of this dangerous situation was a Soviet lieutenant colonel named Stanislav Petrov. He wasn't a famous general. He wasn't a politician. He wasn't a national leader.
He was simply the officer on duty at a secret early warning command center. His responsibility was straightforward: monitor Soviet satellites, detect incoming American missiles, report any attack immediately. But hidden within that simple job was an enormous burden. If the system detected a nuclear strike, his report could set in motion a chain of events leading directly to World War III. Every procedure was clear. Every protocol was established. If the warning system reported an attack, it had to be passed up the chain of command. No hesitation, no personal judgment, no debate, just obedience. But history was about to place Petrov in a situation where blindly following orders might destroy the world. Shortly after midnight, everything changed. A bright warning suddenly appeared on the monitoring screen. The system reported that a nuclear missile had been launched from the United States. Sirens began sounding. Red warning lights flashed. Military personnel rushed into action.
The room instantly transformed from routine monitoring to emergency response. Then things became even worse. A second missile appeared, then a third, then a fourth, then a fifth. According to the satellites, multiple American nuclear missiles were heading toward the Soviet Union. The system classified the alert with the highest confidence level. As far as the computer was concerned, the attack was real. Every second mattered. If the Soviet Union waited too long, it risked losing its ability to respond. If it reacted too quickly, it could launch a war by mistake. And standing between those two possibilities was Stanislav Petrov. Most heroes don't look like heroes when history calls upon them. Petrov wasn't fearless. He wasn't calm. He wasn't certain. He was terrified. His heart raced. The room around him was filled with tension. Everyone expected him to follow protocol. The computers were telling him that America had attacked. Yet something didn't feel right. He began thinking through the situation. If the United States truly intended to destroy the Soviet Union, why would it launch only 5 missiles? Military strategy suggested that a genuine first strike would involve hundreds, perhaps thousands of missiles. 5 missiles made little sense. Petrov also knew that the satellite system was relatively new. Like any technology, it could fail. It could misinterpret data. It could make mistakes. The computers trusted their calculations. Petrov trusted his judgment. And that judgment would become one of the most important decisions in human history. After a few agonizing moments, he made his choice. He reported the warning as a false alarm. Not a confirmed attack. Not the beginning of war. A mistake. If he was wrong, the consequences would be unimaginable. But if he was right, humanity would survive. Then came the longest wait of his life. Minutes passed. Everyone watched. Everyone waited. If missiles had truly been launched, Soviet radar systems would soon detect them. But nothing appeared. Then more minutes passed. Still nothing. The attack never came. Petrov had been right. The computers had been wrong. Investigators later discovered the truth. The satellite system had mistaken sunlight reflecting off high-altitude clouds for missile launches. A rare alignment of sunlight, clouds, and satellite sensors had created a false signal. The computers interpreted those reflections as the heat signatures of nuclear missiles. A simple technical error, a reflection of sunlight. That was all. Yet that tiny mistake nearly triggered a nuclear war. Human civilization had come frighteningly close to disaster because of a misunderstanding between technology and nature. And only one man had questioned the machine. You might expect Stanislav Petrov to become an international hero, but that didn't happen. The Soviet Union kept the incident secret. Officials did not want the world to know about weaknesses in their warning systems. There were no celebrations, no parades, no worldwide recognition. For years, almost nobody knew what had happened that night. The man who may have saved billions of lives returned to ordinary life. History largely forgot him. Yet every birthday celebrated afterward, every family that continued to exist, every child born in the decades that followed was possible because nuclear war did not begin on September 26, 1983. History often remembers kings, presidents, generals, and conquerors, but sometimes the most important person in the world is someone whose name few people know. A man sitting in a bunker, a flashing screen, a warning siren, a decision made in minutes. On one ordinary night in 1983, Stanislav Petrov faced a choice no human being should ever have to make. And because he chose to trust his judgment instead of blindly trusting a machine, the world survived. Most people have never heard his name, but if he had made the wrong decision, there might not have been anyone left to remember it.